Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Maximum Mileage Coaching channel. Now, today's video is one that's actually been requested by my very own athletes. Something that is often overlooked, I think, during people's training. It's more kind of, I find that people think of recovery as almost like an afterthought rather than as actually part of their training, because that is what recovery should be. It should be part of your training. Adaptation, vis-a-vis getting faster, running longer, being fitter, being stronger, all of those words, they don't happen during training. They happen during rest. That's when the body adapts to the stimulus that we've been giving it. So all of those miles that you're doing, all of that strength work that you're doing, etc., is great. That's the stimulus that we need. But the body needs rest to be able to adapt to that stimulus. So recovery needs to be part of your training, not something we do because we're knackered. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips and talk you through the recovery pyramid that has actually been developed by the NSCA, the Essentials of Sports Science, and at its foundation, at its very, very bottom, you're going to see things that are almost free. Sleep, for example, other than the cost of a bed and a house to live in. Your first thing that you're going to be thinking about is your sleep. That is the absolute key. So much happens when we sleep. So research shows that we actually lose out on a lot of things when we don't get quality sleep. So what exactly is quality sleep, and what does it affect? So it affects things like mood, immune system, reaction time. So if you're out on the trails, being able to react to the changing terrain that we're running on. When we talk about immune function, we're talking about getting ill more often, and just the offset of getting ill more often means less training and therefore less ability to get the stimulus that we need to then adapt. Sleep is a massively important and key part of it. Now, as a dad of two young kids, I know that sometimes it's not easy to get sleep, but what I do sometimes find is people just saying, "Oh well, I can't sleep," and they just give up on it, and they don't really think of how they could actually improve their sleep. So some of the things that I've done have been developing a consistent schedule. So trying to go to bed at pretty much the same time every night. For me, that's kind of 9 p.m. I can't really go any further than 9 p.m. these days. And then waking up roughly around the same time. For me, that is around 5 p.m. 5:30 a.m. So I pretty much get a consistent 7.5 to 8.5 hours of sleep every night, and the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours per night. The evidence points to anything less than around 7 hours over a sustained period of time. Even one night of disrupted sleep can affect us in quite immense ways. So really, try and get that bedtime routine in place. Something else I love to do is I have something like a nice calming tea before bed. So no, not black tea or green tea that has an element of caffeine to it. In the UK, I go to Marks and Spencer's, and we get the yes, because I'm posh. I'm not. We get the dreamy tea. It's got lavender and chamomile and that kind of stuff in it. So which has been shown to have calming effects on it. There's also a company called Mission that do something called they do different teas, different powders, and their sleep tea has lavender and turmeric in it. You mix it in as like a latte, so that's a really good one that I have from time to time. I want to say that I limit my screen time before bed. Probably not as much as I should do. But what I have started doing, in fact, I started doing it a few years ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was probably the biggest thing that changed my sleep schedule, was leaving my phone downstairs in a totally different room to the room I sleep in. Now, I know the people will go, oh, well, what do you use as an alarm clock? Well, first of all, my dog tends to take care of that. 5:30 in the morning, he will woof to say he needs to go out for a pee. But the other thing, I use the alarm on my Garmin. And actually, the good thing about that is that it's silent. It just vibrates. That wakes me up, and it doesn't wake my wife up. So yeah, in terms of the screen time thing, I'm probably not that great at it, but one thing I do find has helped is just leaving it downstairs. I started doing it during my corporate career when I had colleagues over in the US and I'm in the UK and they're still working when I'm in bed. And yeah, I was like checking my phone for emails and stuff, and I was like, this is no good because you just can't switch off. So I just started putting it in a different room, and I've done that pretty much ever since. So go to bed and you're just not thinking about it. Yeah, managing caffeine, so I don't have caffeine anywhere past 3 p.m. Make sure that I hate the term, but sleep hygiene is something that experts will talk about. It's like, am I sleeping dirty? Don't sleep dirty. Have a shower before bed. That's something I do most of the time, probably not all the time, but most of the time I will have a shower before bed. So nice warm, I feel clean. Hang on. Turn that off. I feel clean and warm and cozy, and get into bed, making sure that the bedroom is cool and dark as well. I hate light. And actually something I have started doing the last couple of years is I wear an eye mask, which I now can't sleep without it. So, I can sleep without it, but I sleep a lot better with it. So there you go. Sleep, huge, huge, huge thing. It is the absolute foundation. I say to all of my athletes, anybody I coach, I talk about it all the time, that if you are not getting 7 hours a night of good sleep, forget about the other stuff. Forget about your stretching, forget about doing more training, forget about doing massage guns, forget about compression boots, which I'll come on to all of that in a bit. Sleep is your key. That is the one you need to nail first before anything else. Okay, so the next thing that it comes very close to sleep is nutrition. You've got to get your nutrition right. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to turn into some saint. I talk about this all the time with regards to food. We are runners. We are not, our energy demands is very different to somebody sedentary, overweight, health problems, that kind of stuff. So we need not just the nutrients, but also the caloric density. Carbohydrates actually play not just a big role in fueling our training, they actually play a big role in the recovery as well. Muscle growth and protein synthesis happen alongside carbohydrate intake. That carbohydrate happens to accelerate muscle growth. So we need those carbohydrates, we need those proteins and fats alongside as well. But the two key ones for us runners are having enough protein, having enough carbohydrate. And you know what? Sometimes that means that, we talk about ultra processed food and they're bad from a general population point of view. But for us runners, actually, sometimes, our gels, they are ultra processed foods. It's almost unhealthy not to have that kind of stuff because they are accessed very quickly by the body and used very quickly by the body. They are used intra-exercise. So don't be afraid to have some of the things that you enjoy from time to time. Don't be afraid to take those gels, but alongside having a really good overall diet, lots of really good foods, plenty of variety and colour, and I'm gonna use that as a little plug for my book. You can jump on Amazon and buy. I have written 2 books. I spent 20 years in hospitality working for some of the best chefs on the planet, including, well, I don't know if I'd call him the best chef on the planet, but he's certainly a very popular chef. I used to work for Jamie Oliver. I ran one of his restaurants. I've worked alongside Alain Ducasse and various other chefs. So I used my foodie brain when I started learning about nutrition to create 2, I think, really good books. 150 lovely recipes between the 2 of them. Here is one of them. You can go on to Amazon and buy those books, and by doing so you will be really supporting me and my coaching business, and by purchasing a book. So please do. Okay, so up next on the pyramid alongside nutrition is hydration as well. Hydration plays a massive role alongside your nutrition. If you are not getting enough water into your diet, then you aren't going to be giving the body the hydration it needs to be able to absorb certain nutrients to to synthesize carbohydrate, for example. Every carbohydrate molecule requires additional H2O molecules to be able to absorb into the muscle. Our muscles themselves need water, need hydration to be able to function properly, plus all of the other functions within the body, blood volume, all of that kind of stuff. So hydration is hugely important. There have been many studies that show if you aren't hydrating properly, that can impair performance massively. So really focus on your hydration, not just from a performance point of view, but obviously in the context of recovery. Our bodies need water. When we sweat, we evaporate that hydration, and we need to replenish it in our bodies. So hydration is another really important one. Okay, next up on the pyramid, and probably quite a controversial one. I'll start off with hot water. So we're talking about water immersion here. I'll start off with hot water, and I'm not talking about kettle hot, but certainly from the point of view of having things like a warm bath or a hot tub, even things like sauna and steam room, that kind of thing. That is going to help blood flow. It's going to, a warm bath, a warm immersion is going to help with opening up your capillaries. It's going to help with, making sure that blood flow is getting around your body. What happens when we exercise is that we get inflamed. Now, that is the body's natural response, and we want that response. That is actually a good thing. Chronic inflammation, from a health point of view, is very different, but inflammation from exercise is actually a good thing. We want that. That's how we adapt. That's how our body turns that inflammation and adapts to deal with the demands of the work that we're going to do for the next time. Now, hot water immersion helps with that. It helps to promote inflammation. Inflammation is good. Things like ibuprofen, NSAIDs, taking that for inflammation is actually that good for us from an exercise adaptation point of view. So anyway, I'll come on to that in a second a little bit more. But yeah, hot water, massively promote that. Go and have a hot bath. It's going to help your body to recover. And quite frankly, it feels nice as well. Why not chuck some salts in there, some Epsom salts at the same time? On the other end of the scale, when we're talking about cold water immersion, so ice baths are all the rage at the moment, with Wim Hof, probably the most well-known ice bath dipping person, if that is a thing in the world. And there are more companies than you can poke a stick at now that are doing ice baths. There's Myomaster, Polar, Lumi. I actually have a Lumi ice tub, and this is kind of where my head is at from a point of view of, does it help with recovery? There is limited evidence to suggest that it does. And from the point of view where I was talking about where inflammation is actually a good thing in terms of helping us to get better as an athlete, to become faster, to become stronger, to run further. If you have ice baths, have at it. But it is just worth noting that you might blunt the response to that inflammation, to that exercise. You might be not getting as strong as you potentially want to. You might possibly not get as fast as you possibly want to if you are taking ice baths regularly, and particularly taking them within a short space of time after exercise. So this is what I do. I'm not going to say it's a recommendation because you can do whatever you want, but the way I take ice baths, so I like ice baths. The reason I like ice baths is not so much from a recovery point of view. I don't feel like it actually helps me to recover from exercise. I've not actually noticed that. But what I do like from a point of view of taking an ice bath is from a mental health point of view. I actually use it as an opportunity where it's 2 or 3 minutes of my day where I have to empty my mind from all of the shit that I've got going on, between things like with my wife's health, and just the general stresses of life. It is 2 or 3 minutes where I have to just simply empty my mind, focus on my breathing, and remain still. Because I don't do that any other time. Okay, I could do mindfulness and that sort of thing, but I find jumping in the ice bath really helps with that sort of stuff. And I do it first thing in the morning when I wake up. There was another reason why I started doing it, and perhaps it helps. I don't trust everything Andrew Huberman says, but Andrew Huberman's a fairly well-known scientist who has a very successful podcast, but I used to listen to it when I trusted him. And the reason I don't trust him now is because he's been found to have cheated on his wife with loads of women. Anyway, what he explained was that getting into ice water, cold water, anything below 15 degrees Celsius, I don't know what that is it 56 Fahrenheit? It was shown that getting into cold water as soon as you've woken up actually transferred into helping you sleep the following night. I can't say that I noticed that, but the fact that I take ice baths in the morning and I do sleep quite well, perhaps there is some correlation. So anyway, my take on that is if you are going to do ice baths and you want to do ice baths, then go for it. Just maybe not do it right around when you are doing your running, you are doing your strength work. Do it first thing in the morning, perhaps, and then give yourself time to, warm up and stuff, and then go for your run a bit later on, or do your strength work a bit later on. But yeah, I don't think it's going to help you recover because there's not much evidence. And if you don't ice bath and you are thinking, well, I should ice bath because it's going to help me recover, don't. You don't need to. There's other reasons to do ice baths. Okay, moving up to the next, and this is where we start getting to some of the pseudoscience, perhaps science that maybe hasn't been proven so much. First of all, on a stretching point of view, so I'm not a big advocate of stretching. What I am an advocate of, so in terms of like static stretching, certainly not before a run. Absolutely not. That's been shown, plenty of times to be a potential cause for injury. Afterwards, not so much. But what I prefer to do, and the way I kind of frame it, is that flexibility. So trying to elongate your muscles and connective tissues does not equal mobility. And that's what we're looking for as runners. We're looking to be mobile, not flexible. We don't want really long, loose tendons. We actually want stiffness. That stiffness helps to propel us off the ground. you don't want really to be able to touch your feet. As a runner, we need that stiffness to spring us. So, but what I do promote is mobility work. So, good range of motion stuff where the movements are dynamic and quite flowing, and there's no like staying still in the same position for 3 minutes. It's kind of, a few seconds in each position, come out of it, go back into it, come out of it, go back into it. And just anecdotally, I find that helps me. I find it helps keep my range of motion, for my stride length to be better. I do that first thing in the morning. So this is kind of my morning routine actually, is I'll wake up, let the dogs out for a pee. And then what I will do is I'll do my 10 minutes of mobility first thing in the morning, and then I'll do 2 or 3 minutes in the ice bath, and that's the way I start my day. And then I'll get into my coffee, of which I have plenty. So that's where I stand on stretching. Not big a fan of stretching, but that more dynamic stuff, yoga, great, fantastic. Pilates as well, all that sort of stuff is really good. Active recovery, staying mobile, walking around during the day, maybe get your 8,000 steps in on a rest day. Just stay mobile, get out and about, and get into nature. Compression. So jury is still out, but I do like those compression boots, the Normatec ones. I'll put a picture of them on the screen, where you put your legs in them, you zip them up, and then you press the button on the machine and it fills the legs with air and squeezes your legs. Again, the whole premise of it is to promote blood flow around the body, send more blood to through the capillaries and around the muscles and connective tissue. So I am a fan of it. I like the sensation. I don't know whether it's doing all that much, but yeah, I quite like it. I'll sit there on an evening with my compression boots on for an hour and drink my sleepy tea. There you go. That's my evening routine. And then we go up to massage. Somebody on my athlete group mentioned, what did they say? They put it in the useless bucket. It is absolutely not useless. Again, the jury is a little bit still out on its efficacy. And I've spoken to several soft tissue therapists who realise that there is perhaps still work to be done on studying the effect on connective tissue, on muscle fibres, when it comes to massage. But where I stand on massage is, I might go in and have some aches and pains. And, if it's not changed me physiologically, it certainly changed me psychologically. I love a massage, I feel relaxed and sometimes, it's kind of like the ice bath scenario where sometimes, if you just feel better psychologically, that counts for a lot, and this is kind of where I sometimes come back to my old saying of sometimes the science can go fuck itself. Okay, physiologically you're saying that this thing might not help, but psychologically it's made me feel good, and I think that counts for a lot. And then we go up the ladder a little bit more, and we think about things like cryo chambers, magnetic or electrical impulse therapy, vibration. So we're talking about massage guns here. I actually have a massage gun up on the top of my cupboard here. I think I've used it twice. Not a huge amount of evidence. I know some people that swear by them. And again, I just think, if you think it makes a difference for you, then great. Foam rolling is another one that I would throw in there. Most people don't foam roll correctly. And even if they do, does it do much? It has been shown that foam rolling prior to a strength training session can help with range of motion, but the effects don't last very long. So personally, I don't foam roll. I don't promote foam rolling. I haven't foam rolled much. I have foam rolled. In fact, I have a foam roller just down here. yeah, it's quite a nice looking ornament. I don't actually use it, so yeah, that's where I stand on all that. And then we go right to the top and we start talking about fads, and some of the things I've already talked about, like ice bath, for example, could well fit into that category. But yeah, I think anything that would sort of go into that fad category. Cupping is one. Like, just no evidence to support cupping at all. That's when they put, hot cups on you and it sucks your skin, and then you get these. Again, yeah, no real evidence for those. But there are fads out there, and I'm sure you can name hundreds of them. But yeah, that's it. That's where I stand on recovery. So to summarise, I always say, if you are not nailing your sleep, your nutrition, and your hydration, forget about everything else. I'd rather you nail those and spend an extra hour in bed than, there's no point in you doing an hour with your compression boots and then half an hour of mobility work if you only slept for 4 hours a night for the last 3 weeks. So focus on those things first. And once you've nailed them, move up in the pyramid. Nail those, water immersion, great one. I try and have a bath pretty much every Sunday after a long run. There you go, nailed. Then I know I've nailed those bottom three, so my next one is then compression and mobility work and active recovery. Great, nailed. So then I'll go and get a massage from time to time. Great, nailed. There isn't much after that from my perspective, but you get the picture. Nail your recovery, nail your nutrition, your hydration and your sleep, and you will find that you'll be a better athlete for it. Until next time, please do subscribe and like, share this video, tag a friend in, anything like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and all that jazz, and I'll see you on the next video.